Hello everyone, it's Stephanie, your CSA coach, and it is week 16 of our CSA shares. It's a B week for those of you that are half share members. One quick announcement, there are bulk sweet peppers available for purchase at the farm. You do not need to pre-order them, but they're there for you if you want any at pickup. They are 4-pound bags for $14. There's also a bunch of other vegetables, bulk plum tomatoes, and today there was onions and garlic and extra produce over to the side. So make sure when you go to pick up, you take a look to the left of the pickup table to see what is available for additional purchase. Jumping right into this week's share, we have a lot of repeat items. But a very colorful share. So we will start with our kale. Kale gets stored in the fridge in a Debbie Meyer green bag or a plastic bag. Kale can be eaten raw or it can be cooked. You can saute it, you can blanch it, you can make green cubes out of it. So refer to the hub for our green cube PDF. You can make massaged kale salad. There's a recipe for a kale Caesar salad on the blog. There's also kale chips on the blog. There's a kale pesto on the blog. I'm sure there's a bunch of others too, but those three come to mind. But stored in the fridge. It can be eaten raw or it can be cooked. We have head lettuce. We haven't seen head lettuce in a little while. It is back. Stored just like the kale in a Debbie Meyer green bag or in a plastic bag. Do not wash it until you're ready to use it. Lettuce is used for salads, but it can also be used as a base, like a wrap. So these are heartier leaves. You can put chicken salad or egg salad or tuna salad on it. You can use the leaves on burgers or on sandwiches, or just as a vessel to hold whatever you're eating. BLTs, we have all of the ingredients for BLTs except for bacon, especially if you get the Nord bread share. We got bread today, so you can do that, or you can just do a lettuce and tomato sandwich, or you can add cold cuts or anything else you want, but nice, easy lunch. Obviously, salads also work for our lettuce. Refer to the salad bar PDF. You can also refer to the PDF for basic vinaigrette to change up your vinaigrettes to dress our salads in. So that's there as well. We have arugula. Arugula is one of my favorite greens from the farm, arugula and spinach. We have arugula this week. Do not wash this until you're ready to use it. I store it just as is. We're actually using this tonight, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be showcased in our recipe, which will be posted on Thursday. So this can be eaten raw, can be cooked down. I prefer it raw with a simple dressing as a base for a salad. You can make pestos out of it. You can saute it and pair it with like a pasta. I'm pretty sure there's a recipe for an arugula and radish pasta on the blog. I think I did that last year around this time, so take a look at that. But arugula is super tasty from the farm. So I don't necessarily like to cook it, and if I do cook it, I like to do just a quick saute on it. So that gets stored just as is in the fridge. We got to pick your own shishitos. So a quart of these get stored in the fridge. I'm just gonna store them like this, or you can store them in a Ziploc bag. You can also freeze these. They're great in stir fries. There's a bunch of recipes on the blog for shishitos. So there's a pickled shishito. There's blistered shishitos. You can make them as like an appetizer. You can also just do it as a side. You can add them to stir fries. You can add them to your big sheet pan meals or your sheet pan veggies. So lots of ways to use them. They can be eaten raw as well. They do not have to be cooked. 1 in 10, 1 in 5 tend to be spicy. We haven't had a spicy one yet, but you can bite into a spicy one. Jumping into our next produce, we have summer squash. You have a couple different varieties. The summer squash gets stored in the fridge just as is. You can shred this and freeze it. You can make a big, huge sheet pan meal. We did that this weekend, or we did a big sheet pan roasted vegetables. There's a PDF for that on the blog. Just to get rid of a bunch of our vegetables that we still had. So we did some eggplant and summer squash and onions. That might be it. There might have been, oh, and peppers. And then just serve that as a side to our protein for dinner. You can also do that and have it as a side for your eggs in the morning. So it's not necessarily just a dinner option. So you can do a big, huge batch of sheet pan veggies and then kind of save them and use them throughout the week. Also on the blog is summer squash fries. We made them again this weekend up at the lake with my parents, and they were a huge hit. So try them if you have not tried them. There's a bunch of other recipes on the blog for summer squash too. They can be used in a bunch of recipes. So if you're looking for different options, go onto the blog and search summer squash and you'll find a bunch of different options. We still have some left over from last week, so I'm gonna do a little brainstorming about how I'm gonna use them. We have spaghetti squash. You will either get spaghetti squash or butternut squash this week. Both are stored in a cool, dry place and will last. So it's not something you have to use within the next week. These will last. Summer squash spaghetti squash is a great option for just roasting. You can roast it whole, you can roast it in half, you can slice it into rounds and roast it that way. And then the spaghetti squash is named because when you, after you roast it and you take it out, it looks like spaghetti. So it's a great option as a healthier version of pasta. So you can make like a roasted tomato sauce and put that over top. You can do it with pesto, or there's a recipe on the blog for just a simple herb and garlic spaghetti squash. If you get butternut squash, there's a bunch of recipes on the blog there, but stored in a cool, dry place. Today we all, I think, pretty much got spaghetti squash, but Thursday might get the butternut squash. So we'll see the kind of shift in the season, and we'll see some more squash in our shares in the upcoming weeks. We have peppers, lots of peppers. So we have hot peppers. We got to pick 2 from the table. Our peppers we use to add heat to any dish. So we can use them in our salsas and our pico de gallos, and maybe we have tomatillos. So you could do like a green salsa. You can also add heat to sauces. You can do the hot pepper honey, which is on the blog. I like to always have that throughout the season, and then I like to freeze my hot peppers so that I can make it even when we don't have hot peppers in our shares or throughout the winter. Hot peppers were used in last week's recipe for the sweet and spicy chicken kebabs that used peppers and onions and hot peppers. So take a look at that if you haven't tried that yet. Hot peppers are stored in the fridge in your crisper drawer, and can also be frozen if you want to freeze them. If we remove the membranes and the seeds, we have less spice. So if you're looking for less spice, then just remove those before you cook with them. We have sweet peppers. Sweet peppers are available for bulk purchase, but they're also appearing in our shares regularly. These get stored in the fridge in your crisper drawer. They are great just as a snack, great added to salads. You can throw them on a sheet pan meal. So I'm pretty sure there's a recipe for a chicken fajita sheet pan meal on the blog. These, along with the onions, would make a great option for that. You can freeze them. So there were instructions on how to freeze them in the email this week, so you can refer to that. You can roast them, you can grill them, you can add them to the kebabs from last week or any other kebab. They can also be thrown in our grill packets. So there's a recipe for grill packets on the blog. These could be thrown in there as well, but stored in the fridge. We also have Cubanelle peppers, exactly the same thing as the sweet pepper, but those are our light green peppers, stored in the fridge. Can be used for sheet pan meals, can be used for sheet pan veggies, roasted veggies, can be eaten raw, can add to salads, can roast them, can grill them, can do the same thing you would do with our sweet peppers. Couple more items. We have tomatillos. Our tomatillos get stored on the counter or in the fridge, whichever you prefer. Keep the husks on until you're ready to use them. Once you're ready to use them, peel those husks off, rinse them off, and I generally either roast them or grill them. They are amazing for sauces. They're really good if you're gonna do like a salsa verde and do a Mexican night. There's a bunch of recipes. I don't know if I've ever used these, maybe once or twice on the blog, but there's recipes out there if you just Google. But it's super easy to just do a big pan of roasted tomatillos, some onions, and then add some spice and make a green salsa. So that's an option also. We still have tomatoes. We have red early girls and beefsteak tomatoes. These get stored on the counter. These are great just sliced and eaten as a snack. They're great sliced and used on sandwiches. You can make the roasted tomato soup, which is on the blog, or roasted tomato sauce, which is on the blog. You can make a tomato salad, which doesn't require cooking. You can just add these sliced on top of your salad. So lots of options there, but they get stored on the counter, not in the fridge. We have our sweet onions. We got 2 sweet onions. These get stored in a cool, dry place. These can be sliced thin and eaten raw. They can be used on sandwiches. They can be used in our sauces. So either our tomato sauce or our tomato soup. A lot of recipes call for onions, and depending on what onions I have available, I switch it up. Obviously, these are sweet onions, so it will change the flavor a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. Sweet onions are great for onion soup. I'm working on a recipe that may showcase these, so stay tuned potentially for that. I've got 3 different recipes I'm working on this week. So, but stored in a cool, dry place and used anytime you need an onion. We have a watermelon. Watermelon gets stored in the fridge. Best used within the next few days to maximize its sweetness. It will either be like a yellow or orange or a red. And then I believe the yellow orange has seeds. The red is seedless. Great, just cut up and used as a snack, which is generally what we do. I send it with the kids for lunch at school now that they're back at school. You can make a watermelon salad. You can slice it and grill it and drizzle some honey on it. So there are options, but in general, it's amazing just sliced up and eaten as a snack. You can also do it for breakfast as a side, like with your yogurt and granola, or with like cottage cheese or something like that. Last but not least, we have our French breakfast radishes. The very first thing you want to do with these guys is remove the tops. The tops are stored in a Ziploc bag or a Debbie Meyer green bag separately from the bulbs on the bottom. Tops, just like any other greens, you can saute them, you can eat them raw. Generally, they're sauteed. You can add them to green cubes. You can throw them in your veggie scrap bag for veggie broth later in the season. The bottoms are amazing raw. You can roast them. You can pickle them. You can marinate them. There's a marinated radish recipe on the blog. There's also a roasted radish recipe on the blog, and I'm pretty sure this week's recipe will showcase these in a slightly different manner. So if that works out, stay tuned for that on Thursday. But the bottoms are cut off and stored in a Ziploc bag in the fridge, separately from the tops. And that is it for this week. If you have any questions, please make sure you tag me in the Facebook group just so I don't miss any messages or any questions that come up. If you have fun recipes that you have tried with any of these ingredients, make sure you post a link to those recipes or take pictures of what you're making so that everyone else can join in on the fun and potentially try the recipes that have worked well for you guys. I will see you all next Tuesday. Make sure you're focusing on what you have left from last week, especially if it's something that probably should be used up within the next few days. And then probably this week, we want to use the arugula first and the watermelon, just because we want to maximize the sweetness. I will see you all again next week.